So welcome everybody. This is Jeff Phillips with Accountingfly, and again, you're watching and listening to the better side of public accounting, picking the best place to work. And I got to tell you why I found this title, the better side of public accounting. We do webinars by location, so we do some of the webinars like best places to work in Maryland, for example. We talked about some of the progressive firms that are just really great places to work. And one of the things we did in researching um, the session in Dallas for Dallas firms was we went on a really great website called Vault.com. So Vault has information about employers. It's actually user-generated content. In other words, employees can go in and talk about their experiences working at these firms. And so we were looking at one of the firms that we loved in Dallas, and we were reading reviews, and an accountant, a CPA that worked there, said working here is being in the better side of public accounting. That hit me like a ton of bricks, because there are challenges in public accounting, and there are okay, let me be more direct. There are some awful firms in public accounting that you want to avoid, and there are some absolutely tremendous, progressive, interesting places to work that invest in people and want great talent to work there. And that's the better side of public accounting. And that's really what I wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you about and trying to help you identify how you could, if you're fortunate enough to have a choice, how you could evaluate a firm that you would want to select. Hopefully that makes sense. I thought that was a great line. So I'd like to introduce Accountingfly very quickly, just for those of you who are not familiar. We're a job board, but we're so much more. If you haven't been to our blog, I think we have the best blog related to accounting careers on the internet. There you can find information about passing the CPA exam and special offers. You can find our Masters of Accounting research. So we have some information about why you should get a Master's of Accounting. We could actually connect you directly with master's programs. And the primary business of Accountingfly is job postings and job advertising for employers and connecting you guys with those employers. Along the way, we like to provide advice for job seekers, because we feel like you are our community, and the more we can equip you, the better candidates you'll become, and the better hires you'll be in our clients. And we want to help people from the student level until they're a CFO or a partner or an owner of a firm with their career choices. So we provide a lot of content. What can you do on Accountingfly? You can drop your resume. You can add in locations that you're interested in working in, so that employers who search our resume database may find you. And of course, once you drop a resume once on Accountingfly, with a click of a button, you can apply to any of our jobs that say easy apply on it. If it doesn't say easy apply, then you got to go off site and go to the client's website to post a job. But we want to be the most relevant job resource in this profession. And that's why we call ourselves the Career Center to the accounting profession. And if you have any questions about Accountingfly, you can certainly email me. One other piece of information is that we're on GoToWebinar, and sometimes the audio will just drop in GoToWebinar for a brief minute. It'll come back. And if it doesn't come back for you, you can also call in through your phone and probably have better luck there. I myself am on an internet connection. So since it's kind of a casual conversation, I wanted to start by asking you guys a polling question. I'd really appreciate if you would participate in this. I'm going to launch it right now, because you're thinking about your next job or your first job. I know it's hard to just to pick one thing, but what is the most important thing to you in selecting an accounting employer? All you have to do is click the button that you would choose and hit submit. I mean, like work-life balance, and what I mean by that is, I think there's a perception in the accounting industry, a bias of, and it may be true, right? That the hours are crazy and there is no balance. I've heard that a lot. Relating to the company mission, like what's important to the company and the organization, the firm's mission. Compensation, I want to get paid, right? That is going to drive my decision if it comes between me, this job and another job. The firm culture and the technology I'll learn there. So 77% of you have voted, and I'm going to try to close this and actually show you the results. Let me see if I can do that real quick. So can you guys see this? So what I've got here is it says quick poll. Can you chime in on the question panel if you can see this? Because I'd like to know. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so I don't know if you can see this or not, but so let me read you the results. Work-life balance is 44%. This is the third time I've run this question, and it always is the primary answer. Why is that? Why did you answer work-life balance? I'd love it if you could give me some context in that question panel, because that might be something that we would like to take to firms and educate them. So that was the top choice, and culture was the second choice. That's amazing. Compensation was tied with culture. And technology, I think the technology that a firm embraces, the firm uses, is critical to where you're going to want to work, because you should be learning the latest and greatest technology. And of course, if it doesn't have a good culture, if the culture is lousy, you don't want to be there. We talked to a lot of firms where we said, you can use Accountingfly, but it sounds like a bad place to work. I don't think you're going to have any luck, you know. And a lot of accounting firms got to work on that. All right. Hey, thank you for participating in that. All right, cool. So we'll get back to this. Okay, so here is the big picture when it comes to you, and you're the talent, okay? And it's an interesting situation. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the accounting world, firms, they view it as though the race for talent is over and the talent won. In other words, you are in such high demand right now, especially if you have a accounting degree, especially if you have a CPA, and if you have like 2 years of audit or tax experience. You're in such great demand right now that they have realized that they are going to have to pay a lot of money. They're going to have to pay top dollar. They're going to have to be patient. They're going to have to take people they may have not wanted to hire in the past. The leverage is on your side. Okay, you have the leverage in this conversation, because the firms are flipping out because they can't hire anybody. Okay, let me prove this to you with 2 things. Number one, the AICPA did a poll of their 44,000 firm members, okay, and asked them, what are the greatest issues facing your firm right now? They do this poll every single year. You can Google it. It's called the AICPA Issues Survey. And overwhelmingly, firms with at least 2 partners and above, so firms of 2 partners up through Deloitte, the largest firm in the world, said that finding qualified talent was the number one problem and issue facing the livelihood of their firm, okay, the future success of their firm. Now, you may be sitting there saying, well, I have had no luck getting a job in an accounting firm. So, Jeff, you're wrong, because no one's hiring me. And what I interpret this is to be is they are frustrated because they can't find qualified talent, the talent that they are hoping that could come in and be a strong performer in their firm, a high performer. And those are things like you've got to have the technical abilities, and you've got to have you've got to have an education, hopefully to have a CPA, you've passed a CPA or you're on that track. And they want skills like presenting well. They want to know that not long after they hire you, you could be in front of a client, leading the client through, through a report that you guys have generated. Or they want to know that you're so strong technically that you're a back of the house guy, and you could be, crunching out tax returns, or maybe even working on the audit side in the back of the house. Those are some of the key talents they want. And let me tell you the other evidence that there's a problem that's in your favor. We have more people graduating from college with an accounting degree than ever before. Okay, that's the blue line. But the orange line shows the number of people every year that sit for the CPA exam. So if you look at, roughly where you would think 2015 is going to be, we're back down to 2006 numbers. Now, so that's interesting, isn't it? We have more students coming into the accounting profession, but fewer people coming into the CPA profession. And here's how I interpret that. Accounting is a popular major, but working in public accounting is losing its popularity as a career choice. And so, those students work for a couple of years in a public accounting firm and they leave. I think this is the reason why 44% of you guys on the call said that work-life balance was so important, because firms have hurt work-life balance, firms have hurt culture, and have driven away aspiring CPAs. I don't know. I'd be interested if you would agree with that or not. This slide, by the way, is from Barry Melanson, who's the CEO of the AICPA. So it comes from good authority. I'm going to check in with the questions real quick because I know a couple of you have checked in. So yeah, the webinar is being recorded, and all right. So I appreciate some of the comments. So let's keep going. So does that set the table for you? Does it set the table that if you're someone who's looking for a new job and you are gainfully employed right now, the world is your oyster. If you're on the outside and you are trying to get in, take it as a really great sign of hope that these firms really do need to make hires. And there's probably some ways you could upgrade your own skill set, maybe your interview skills, maybe what's on your resume that would make you highly desirable. Because guys, this problem isn't going away. Because you know what's going to happen. In 8 years, 70%, I think it's 75% of partners at accounting firms in the United States will retire. Right? Think about that. Think about the opportunity there. So you could get a job at a very small firm and buy that firm in 7 to 8 years on average. That's a tremendous opportunity. And some of these small firms in the United States, they are the ones that have the work-life balance issues. They're the ones that have the culture issues. But you could come in, pay your dues, work very hard, change that, take that firm over. There's a lot of small firms that could be excellent careers for you. All right. So let me just spend a little bit of time what makes a top public accounting firm. All right, and I'm going to stop instead of doing the Q&A at the end. If you have a question, I'll check in and see if I can answer it. If not, just see if we have anything. All right, cool. Just some voices of agreement. I think public accounting firms are changing, and I think the ones who are early adopters are going to eat the late adopters. And there's a few ways that you can tell if someone is an early adopter, a progressive firm, and it's how they think about a few things. Number one is they make a commitment to being true advisors. Okay, so I think in the old days, there was so much data entry that you would have highly paid CPAs that were spending a lot of time doing data entry and not a lot of time working with clients, not a lot of time advising clients and being like almost the in-house, the out of office CFO of a client. With technologies like Xero, for example, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, there's so much automation of the data gathering process of accounting and the administrative junk of accounting that the progression of accounting firms is that they're the people that are going to think about money and the future of money for their clients, whether it's individuals, high net worth individuals, small businesses, or corporations. To me, that is extremely exciting because I think that means the profession is going to be more and more interesting and a better place to work because you're becoming a true advisor. You have a seat at the table with the head of those businesses. I'm going to talk about in a minute a firm that I think encapsulates all of these values. But you can tell if a firm is on the progressive side by some of the technology that they use and their attitude about being true advisors. For example, are they still billing by the hour exclusively, or have they landed on trying to do more value pricing? Value pricing is going to a client and saying, you are going to pay us this much per month, and it's independent of how many hours we work. It's dependent on the value that we're creating. And we're going to stop tracking our hours, and we're going to start doing great things for your firm. This is a very controversial topic in the accounting industry, but it's heading that way. And your firm needs to have the firm that you are probably the most interested in. And this is now we're entering the realm of my own opinion. They should be going in that direction. Some of you heard Jason Blummer speak. How I quit my job, started a firm, and built a life I love. It's on our YouTube channel, and it was through Meet the Firms Week. Jason's a perfect example of a value pricing there's only value pricing, and there is no billable hour type work, and their clients love him, and he only serves. And this is the other point: is niche opportunities. Jason Blummer's firm only serves advertising agencies. Chris Farmand, who also did a webinar during Meet the Firms Week, he does craft breweries. So I'm not saying to go to work only at a niche firm, but that is a progressive concept, and you can be a highly profitable accounting firm if you only serve niches. Commitment to their community. I would challenge them to see how are they leaders in their community. Is it token or is it legitimate? Because I know that millennial job seekers, who are out of college up through probably the age of 30, they're forcing the firms to take community service more seriously than ever before. And then lastly, a commitment to the employees. A commitment. And how do you know if a firm has commitment to the employees? Do they have a formalized training program? Do they have a formalized mentor assignment or a buddy? Do they have a way of onboarding you when you start that is going to integrate you into the social fabric of that firm? I would work at a firm that had that. I would avoid a firm that did not. And some small firms, they don't have the resources to do that. So maybe as in a negotiation during your interview, you ought to put that together with them. Because what you don't want to do is get hired and then them drop you into an audit team and you don't know anybody and there is no sort of socialization and integration into the firm. I want to see a commitment to the employees. And so do you. All right. Thanks. Okay. So 19% of you said that culture was important. I agree. I agree completely, and I am worried that a lot of firms do not get this. However, I was just talking to a husband and wife owned firm in Fort Myers, Florida, and if any of you are in the Fort Myers area, please buzz me because this is a place you would want to work. They're a small firm. It's just adorable. They come up with a theme every year for tax season, and the partner, who's probably in his late 60s, really gets excited and enthusiastic about this. Like one year it was WWE, so the wrestling, and everybody had to pick a WWE character, and they had a big party at the end of tax season. And when they hit weekly goals, they would have little, he would give people $20, on their Monday morning meetings. They make work fun. But the culture, and that's a good firm culture, but the culture that I think is important is also a culture for growth. How do you know if a firm has a culture for growth? You can ask them questions like, where are you going to be 3 years from today? And where do you see our relationship 3 years from today? Like in an interview situation, there needs to be an answer to that question that's been thought through. That's how you know if somebody has a growth mindset or if an organization has a growth mindset. Why is this important? It's important because you're either growing or you're shrinking, and businesses must grow or they're going to die, right? And it's important that a firm has an attitude of growth. It will make your job harder, but it will make you more successful if they have a growth mindset and a development mindset. Are they aggressively pursuing new customers? Will they incentivize you with maybe a faster track partner if you go out and go get new customers, new clients? Do they give you the tools you need to go and get new clients? I'd want to work at a place that offers that kind of yeah. So I just got a comment from a viewer who said that's why I left my job at a CPA firm. They stifled growth, and I wanted it, meaning I wanted to grow. You know, the firms that aren't embracing this are headed for ruin, and they're not going to attract high performers. They're not going to attract you, or you're going to leave. Look at the example that just came in. So I hope this is helpful. This is a strong opinion I have of where to work. You ought to be able to sense if there is a growth mentality. If you're the type of person that can be what I call a front of the house accountant, you want to get in front of clients and you want to go invest in your community and go build clients, go attract clients. If a firm's going to prevent you from doing that, I would seriously consider finding a new job, just like the person who just reported that in. What else makes a top public accounting firm? They have a commitment to recruiting. I ask firms the following question often. If a great candidate, okay, let me back up. If you did not have an open job, but a great candidate, sort of fell in your lap, what would you do? Okay, and I leave it open-ended like that. And what the right answer to me is, I would drop what I was doing and I would talk to that candidate and tell them, even though we're not hiring, if you're excellent, we will make room for you, unless we absolutely just can't afford it. Because when you go back to the top issues survey and how talent is so critical, if they're not committed to talent and even bringing in talent, even if they didn't perhaps reactively try to hire somebody, I don't know that they have a commitment to talent. And you'll know if they have a commitment to talent if they have the training, the technology training, the soft skills training, the mentoring that firms must have to develop talent. And that to me is a next generation firm. That's a strong signal of a next gen firm. Not only does it have a growth mindset, but they're constantly looking for the best people. And they get, like, not on surface value, but they get in reality with their, which has evidence in their practices that that they're aggressively pursuing talent. They recruit all year. We call it Recruit 365. They drop what they're doing relatively. They drop what they're doing in general and talk to excellent candidates. So you want a public accounting firm that is committed to recruitment, because you know that if they're willing to do that, they care about developing good people, because they understand the value of good people. And that's the evidence you can take to have confidence that they care about people, is because they don't post a job in the local newspaper when they have an opening. It's a mindset. We are always recruiting. We're always trying to get new clients. We're always trying to improve our process and our technology, and we're always looking for the best people. Firms that get that will grow. The firms that don't will die. Period. And I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about technology now, because I want to give you some specific examples of what should be going on with technology. I think that firms ought to be able to, let's say you're a millennial or a younger accountant, you're under 30, and a lot of times you guys are the ones bringing the technology to the firm. I think it should be the exact opposite. The firms ought to have beaten you to the punch and should know about the latest and greatest technology so that they can teach you. And maybe the right way to approach this is it's a blend of the two. I mean, if there's some things you ought to know. You ought to know some online accounting tools like Xero and QuickBooks Online. That's a resume booster. I'm actually going to give you an offer for free training on Xero in a minute, because they sponsor our webinars. But what I'm saying is, what I tell the firms is, don't rely on your talent to teach you about technology. And what I would say to you is, bring your technology A game to an interview and upgrade your skill set by learning about technologies that you could use as an accountant. But I'll tell you what, we polled a lot of job seekers and said, what do you think about technology in a firm? And they say, look, if the technology is outdated, if they're still on a desktop, if there's still a lot of paper floating around the office, the signal to me is they're in it for the short term, and then I'm probably going to be looking for a new job because they're going to sell their firm in a couple of years. If they're investing in technology, that means they're a next generation firm. They're a growth mindset firm, and they are moving forward. They're growing, not shrinking. They're living. They're not dying. And if they're embracing technology, I talked to the same firm, 68-year-old, 70-year-old man who was totally getting it, and they're using technology like Xero so that their workers can be remote. He doesn't have set FaceTime hours during tax season, and he gets it that he wants to let his people work from home, and that's because they're completely distributed and in the cloud. I love hearing stuff like that. So what are some examples? This is a little bit corny probably, but are they using things like Skype and Google Hangout for meetings? I think you should be using Skype and Google Hangouts for every client meeting that a firm has, and not use a phone. In fact, I would be on video right now if I wasn't in a hotel room and had I had a weak signal. Typically, I do these webinars by video. But this is a great way to do client interaction, or if it's a remote team, to do team interaction. Are they using old Outlook or Lotus Notes for email? Are they using Google Apps for email? Guys, I would ask them these questions, because you're looking for evidence of a strong organization. You're looking for evidence of technology. They ought to be giving you two monitors. That's a no-brainer. We love to see firms that are embracing tablets, and maybe they won't give you one, but that they've got the right software and the right cloud software that you can connect your tablet to their server. I like to see firms that use Mac laptops instead of the old IBM laptops. So that's just me, because I use a Mac. And technologies like Zero talk to the Apple Watch, so you can update your client through Zero, and you can finish a bank rec through Zero, and it's going to give them a notification on their Apple Watch. I've seen a lot of firm partners at this conference wearing an Apple Watch, and I like to tell them, hey, it looks like you're a technology forward firm. You're a geek like us, and congratulations. So I hope they're investing in this. And then I want to see them investing in the ancillary services around, around the accounting profession, so that they understand they definitely gonna need to know what Zero is. And I'm going to talk to you about Zero in a second. And then some of these other tools that I think are fantastic. So Gusto is a payroll and HR software, basically, that accounting firms can give to their clients. So you can get their clients on the Gusto's payroll system. It's a cloud-based, well-designed payroll tool. Fathom is probably the coolest technology I've ever seen as a small business owner, as a startup owner. Fathom integrates with Xero or QuickBooks Online and gives a business owner and their accountant really detailed reporting that shows you all the key metrics you need to know. You can actually program key metrics. So Fathom takes the data from QuickBooks and spits out really interesting reports. Like, for instance, we're a startup, so an important metric in a startup is burn rate, and your run rate. So the startup game is we have to make more money before we run out. We have to make more money each month than we spend before you run out of your investment capital. So Fathom has the ability to show that in a nice visual way. This is a beautiful piece of software. As an accountant, if you walked in with Fathom to a client and showed them a Fathom report, they would think you were a genius. Receipt Bank is another great example. And all of these integrate into Xero, by the way, and they all integrate with QuickBooks Online as well. Receipt Bank is a way that you can use your mobile phone, fire off a picture of your receipt while you're traveling, that integrates into your accounting software like Xero, which actually connects through a bank reconciliation. So the transaction from the bank that goes into Xero lines up with the receipt. They sync up, and now you've got a transaction with a receipt tied to it. I don't carry around receipts anymore, and I travel all the time because I use Receipt Bank to integrate into our accounting system. So imagine your skill set if you knew all these tools, and you could walk into a job interview, or you could walk into a client conversation and give them a demo of how you would set these things up. You're not going to use these things in a Big Four situation probably, but most people aren't working in Big Fours. And so these are interesting tools that you should check out. All right, I'm going to check in with you real quick for questions, just to make sure we're not. Yeah, cool. Very nice. So one of our attendees says that they're in a current position, which I believe they're looking to leave. Their firm uses a one one monitor for them, and that's, to me, is a non-negotiable. 2 monitors or I'm out, because you need that to be efficient, especially in the accounting. Okay, so here's a little take on a few other upgrades for the firm. And I guess what I'm saying to this is where we coach firms to make upgrades in addition to the things I just showed you. Office environment. It's time to bring in a Keurig or a coffee maker that is nice, not the coffee maker from home. Let's get rid of the green shag carpet. Let's get rid of the dark wood paneling. Spruce up the office. It doesn't take $1 million of budget to make the office not a terrible place to work. That's an important piece. It's got to be a nice place to work. Flexibility. We know you want flexibility, and we know you want the trust to have a flexible work arrangement, and that means, like the man in the firm in Fort Myers, Florida, that people can go home and take care of their work during tax season as long as they're plugged in and they get the work done. It's okay. We don't have to be here. If you got a doctor's appointment, you got to go take your pet to the vet. It shouldn't cause so many headaches for the accounting firm. I'll get it done. I'll get it done. That's a major change, and I would be looking and I would be asking in the interview process, what does it take to have flexibility in, or what's your take on flexibility? That's what I would ask the interview, like, how flexible is this work arrangement? Asking about value pricing. If you're looking for a resource, Ron Baker is a leading authority on value pricing, wrote a book called Value Pricing. He's speaking at the conference I'm at. If you'd like to learn more about what value pricing means and how it's different than billable hours, I would encourage you to read up with Ron. The firm should offer you a clear career path. If you're truly a high performer, they should be begging you to come work there. And when they do that, you should be able to say, if I perform here, what does my career path look like? What does my track to partner? When am I going to be promoted to senior associate or to supervisor, manager, and to partner? And what do I have to do to get there? And if I do it, I'm going to look you in the eyes and I'm going to be there. Give me that clear path. What I love to hear in accounting firms is when they say, look, we're going to give you the tools to go build a business, build a book of business, and be a great accountant. If you're a good business developer, we're going to promote you from senior associate or senior manager to partner faster than other people in our firm, faster than the existing partners got there, because we know times have changed and you don't have to pay the same dues that everybody else has. The other thing they're going to have to do is deliver on the pitch that they made you on why this is a great place to work. Did they tell you that there are values? Their company espouses certain values that are important to their organization. All right. Yes, they probably did. Now, did what they promise you match what you saw when you got to the firm? Boy, I hope so, because I know one thing: you're going to leave if they don't. And we warn firms all the time, people may not stick around if you're not practicing what you preach. It's very important to align those values, how they treat a client, how they treat a team member, how flexible are they, what are the most important behaviors on a day-to-day basis. Those are values. Values are repeatable behaviors, inside that organization's culture that people expect and should come to expect from all the team members. So these are the topics that I'm hoping we are arming you with talking points, questions, ways to peek under the hood and see if this is the kind of place you want to work at. I think one last comment on flexibility. It's not widespread, but firms are more and more offering remote opportunities. Remote, either a full-time remote or just you work in the office sometimes and you work from home sometimes. I'd love to do that. And I think that's another piece of evidence that a firm is a next generation firm. Okay. There's a firm that we know very well called HPC. They're loosely based in Atlanta and San Francisco, but really HPC is a firm that went from like everybody located in an office in Atlanta to a completely virtual firm where they have people all over the country doing tax work for small businesses. And imagine the transformation that had to be to change from an all office environment to an all remote environment. And not only is their office remote, their clients are remote as well. So they interview their clients and they speak with their clients over Skype. They all work from home. They all value price. They recruit all year long, and they are looking for great people, and they're looking for them remotely. One of the limitations of Accountingfly is that we don't have a job posting type that is called remote. So you have to like search for a location. So that's a limitation on Accountingfly that we have to fix. But they do have a job. If you search for them in San Diego, you can learn more about HPC. You just search Accountingfly for San Diego and you'll see HPC, Remote Senior Tax Accountant. So while the job is posted in California, they're really more interested in just finding great tax people remotely. And they're a hard firm to get into. They're committed to talent and they are not easy to get hired at. But if you have any tax experience, you guys should apply there and talk to the team from there, because this is a company that's checking all the boxes that I've been talking about. And what's interesting, I didn't intend to talk about HPC, but as I was thinking through what makes a great firm, it started revealing to me. I was like, wow, HPC gets this stuff right. And they are an outstanding group. So they've been around for a long time, but they have made this transition over time to a virtual organization. If you have any interest in working remotely and you have two years of tax experience, all right, they're not going to talk to you if you don't. If you do, you should give it a shot. Um, all right. So what I think I might do here now is one second. There was one question that was related to these firms, and then I'm going to talk about you and your job search. Are there firms out there that value a CPA candidate who is also a CFA? So that's a Chartered Financial Advisor. Is this beneficial more in a certain industry than others? Yeah, I think it's a firm by firm basis, but I mean, I think the types of firms that would love a CFA, it's not really necessarily the big four. It's the firms that have what they call accounting services, or they might call it outsourced CFO. Um, it's like if you see the word services around, like, what kind of service lines they offer, what they're talking about is um, they want to get clients who want to just hand over the CFO duties to the accounting firm. And a lot of that would be investment, and it would be budgeting and cash flow and expense management. I'd have to think that firms like that would be super excited about having a CPA candidate who has a CFA. So good luck with that. That's fantastic. Um, let's see. All right, so I'm gonna keep. Oh gosh, hang on. I'm I almost turned the webinar off. Sorry. Too many moving pieces. Okay, great. So upgrading your job search, because I've had a few people comment and say, look, I'm looking for work. I'm having a hard time. You're telling me the job market is great. What the heck is the disconnect here? So a couple of things that you should consider, and maybe you've done all this stuff, but for starters, you ought to have a CPA. That's if you're going to work in public accounting, that's a great way to get a job, is to already have the CPA, so they don't have to like bet on you getting a CPA or not. Because why? Well, for starters, the firms make more money when they're putting CPAs on projects. So if you don't have a job, that's a great way to do it. We have some low cost partners who offer CPA test prep. And if you're interested in that, you can email me. Did you get a master's degree, or did you just finish up a bachelor's degree? There are some expensive master's programs at great schools, and there are some affordable online options with actually incredible. You can get a master's degree from Penn State, which is a great college, online. For a lot less money than you could a bricks and mortar school, and you could do it. You could do it while you're working another job. You know, if you have that Master's of Accounting, your earning potential goes up. Chances are it's helped you polish communication skills and interview skills and team building skills and presentation skills. And that's the thing that people are going to want to see. And not to mention, you also would get the benefit of that college's career services center. So you could apply directly to jobs who are wanting to hire people from that college. Be tech savvy. If you could tell an employer that you're certified in Xero, if you could tell an employer that you're certified in QuickBooks Online, If you could tell them that you knew Receipt Bank and how that worked into QuickBooks and Xero, you could generate Fathom reports. You have some major skill opportunities right there. The first thing I would do is learn Xero and probably QuickBooks Online. I'm going to give you a free training credit for Xero in just a second. You ought to apply. And hey, the internet's a hard place to get a job. And I'm the CEO of a job board, and I'll be the first to tell you. We ask a lot of candidates, what's the most frustrating thing that you experience on Accountingfly? And it's, I apply to a lot of jobs and nobody responds. That hurts when we hear that, because we want to make that connection, but honestly, the employers are skimming the candidates, and when somebody stands out because of an experience level, or if it's in college recruiting, a college they went to, they're going to skim quickly and then pull that candidate and engage the candidate, and they tend to ignore the rest. So that's not great. But the two ways that you can make a difference, one is apply online but follow up. And there's a fine line between following up and being a pest and following up and being professional. But the right follow-up is a short and sweet email requesting an interview. I think I'm actually the perfect fit for this. I have 2 references that would agree with this. I'd like an opportunity to interview for the job. And you do that twice. People that have done that to me, I interview, because I'm like, well, man, these guys are like kind of business development type. They have the kind of skill set that could help us build companies, help us get clients. Now, if you do it a couple of times, they don't respond, maybe a phone call, then you need to walk away and find another opportunity. But applying online is not the end of the process. It is still in your wheelhouse. It is still your responsibility to take it to the next level. Okay. When you do get an interview, that's your golden opportunity, and you can't miss the opportunity to nail the job. The interview determines if you're going to get a job, if you're going to get the salary that you want. And what people want to hear in interviews is essentially, can you look them in the eye, shake their hands, and give them a confident answer to a question? Or are you avoiding eye contact and you're looking at the table and you're nervous? I mean, I get nervous before I speak in front of a group, but so that's natural. But you overcome it. You got to look people in the eye. You got to give them a firm handshake, and you got to give them clear answers. So how do you give them clear answers? Well, you practice your own stories. People, no matter what questions you get, people want to understand, can you present? Do you have the technical background? Can you work in a team? Can you work under pressure? And can you persevere? And you need a story from your college experience or from your current job or from your life outside of accounting that explains how you've worked in a team and how you have persevered and how you worked under pressure and with deadlines. And they're going to understand if you can present. And what I mean by present is talk to me. Can you talk clearly just from the interview itself? Okay, so how do you find those stories? They're in your life, and you need to practice them, and you need to have them ready. Even if you're not asked the question, you work them in to the conversation, and you do it succinctly. I was once helping a candidate who had an interesting story, but it took him 45 minutes to get through the story. And I had to cut him off and said, I just can't even listen anymore. What can you get across in a headline? A headline with a supporting statement. That's the way I think about stories. And if they're interested, they'll ask more questions. But did I work in a team? How have I persevered? When have I faced a deadline or worked under pressure? And do I present well? Do I have the technical skill set? All interviews boil down to those 5 things. If you can build a little rapport at the beginning and find something in common to make the person who's interviewing you, relax a little bit because they're a little bit nervous too, you're going to make a great interview candidate. And those tips also relate to networking, because that's how you meet people in a social situation, which is awkward for everybody. But if you follow those tips and you have some stories, and then you learn how to ask questions about other people when you meet them. One of my favorite questions, whether I'm networking or whether I'm in an interview, is saying, looks like you could have worked anywhere. Why do you work at this firm? Or if they've been there a while, looks like you could have gone many places over your career. Why have you always stayed here? It's a nice question, isn't it? It's a good way to connect with a person and learn their story. And you need to think seriously about these things, because the job market is open, but you control what the inputs here. You control your ability to be a great candidate or not. Just trust me, the jobs are there. And if you're in a location you've tapped out, and you've been to every firm, then you can maybe you're in an awful location, maybe you're in a part of the country where there's a bad job market. I doubt it. I think you need to work on these things and then go back to these organizations, or find some new organizations. Okay, let me tell you about Xero just real quick. This is a housekeeping item, but I would encourage you to become a Xero partner for free, and then take one of their live online certification courses. I'm going to actually send you out this chat right here. So the first chat item I'm going to send you is signing up to be a Xero partner. So a partner is someone who uses Xero for their small business clients. That's free. And I just sent you that out through the GoToWebinar panel. The other thing they have, which I think is really cool, is they have live online Xero training. So you can get certified in Xero. It costs $250. They waive that cost for you guys, and you can link that here. Now, when you sign up for a live training course, they give you a promo code and a checkout code. You want to type "fly free" into the promo code box. Then you'll get in one of their live online training classes. When you start to work with Xero as an accounting software, you're going to flip out. It is so user friendly. Small businesses love it. Forbes magazine named Xero the most innovative growth company in the world in 2014 or 15. It's an excellent resource. To walk into an interview and say, well, I'm certified in Xero, you may blow somebody's mind, because some firms may not even have heard of Xero yet. Now who's cutting edge? Right? You are. So take a look at that. And the other thing I want to show you is that on our blog, we have some content about why you should pursue a master's degree. What are the key benefits of doing that? And some of the benefits are you get paid more money. It's certainly going to help you find a job. But when you take a look at our master's degree section, you can actually connect with certain programs. So I mentioned Penn State. Penn State is a great university, has an online master's program, and it doesn't hurt anything or cost anything. We have on any one of those. There's some blog posts that cover some of these schools, like Penn State or like Wake Forest. You can fill out a little form on those profiles and select which schools you'd like to hear back from, and they'll send you a prospectus, a guide on why you should attend that school. So one of the other options we have, because I think getting that master's could be very helpful. They'll give you education on how to get a loan, and what the pros and cons of getting a loan is, and how you pay it off, and how much you would need, stuff like that. So I would strongly consider it. So that took us 52 minutes. I would love to get feedback from you through the question panel, and I would love any questions that you have. I'm going to open up the question box here and just see if anything pops in. There's a few questions that, thanks for saying you love the blog, so much useful information. That's awesome. I need a job where I'm not spending 60 to 70 hours at work and no time at home. Yeah, good point. I think that speaks to the work-life balance. And it's like, we can work long hours, but let us have the flexibility to spend some of those hours on my own time, and not give me this FaceTime, this unrealistic FaceTime demand. Same thing. I don't mind putting in long hours to meet goals of the firm, but I also want time for family and fun. Great point. I read the AICPA supply and demand article and had a similar graph. Yeah, that goes back to like the declining numbers of CPA takers, which is truly interesting. So I'm just kind of going through the different pieces here. All right, so while I work on my CPA, where do I find companies to hire me so I get experience? I have 2 more classes to complete my master's in accounting and financial management. I think the real issue is getting that entry-level position. So this question is about I'm almost done with my CPA and I'm almost done with my master's. Yeah, so entry-level positions and internships, they'll hire you without a CPA, with the expectation that you'll pass the CPA within a few years. So I think if you're getting into Masters of Accounting and Financial Management, what you should be gunning for is either an internship right now or gunning for an entry-level job. Hopefully you maybe have an internship already. If you don't, you may need to do an internship after you graduate, which I don't think is a bad idea because you get paid, you get a lot of experience, but it's sort of dating before you marry. Now, how do you get an internship? Your college really should be helping you do this, and they ought to be connecting you with local employers. If they're not, I would just Google every single employer in your city where you're living and send them a resume and a cover letter by mail, or drop it off to the attention of the managing partner in an envelope. You put 1 or 2 days of effort into that, you'll get a call back. I read a job hunting book, What Color is Your Parachute, which is a great book, and they said there are only 3 interview questions that they ask: your past, your present, and your future. That's a great way of simplifying the interview, and it's so true. And what I'm suggesting is, and I like that comment, thank you. What I'm suggesting is be prepared to tell stories so that you're never surprised. What are the stories of your life? Now, you know those stories, but can you tell them in a way that is memorable and quick? Because think about how quickly you lose attention when you watch something that is, maybe you've lost attention because I'm boring, because I've been talking for 52 minutes. Hell, I would have lost attention by now. So it goes both ways. Can you summarize those stories of your life in a very quick but a high level way? And you know how you do that? It's awkward as anything, but you practice with friends, or you practice and you record yourself. You do that, that will help you throughout your entire business career. I'm graduating in May and already fulfill all CPA requirements. Should I pursue a master's degree? For you, I would read that article on our blog about should I get a master's. And I don't think it would hurt to connect with some of the schools that we work with and ask them that question. And yeah, will they be a little bit biased? Probably so, but they're going to give you an opinion that you could evaluate. I think the salary opportunity is higher. Sounds like you wouldn't need the master's to get your CPA requirements. So it's a matter of education, salary, getting a job. Some of these schools you could do both. So over the long term of your career, you're going to earn a lot more if you have a master's degree. But you could work and like do a great online program like Penn State, for example, and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. All right, keeping going with the questions here. Yeah, so you're looking for jobs in Maryland. Do you have a list or a resource where I can see those firms? If you can email me for the guy who asked that question about Maryland. You want to email me your resume. I think that'd be one thing you could do, Jeff@accountingfly.com. But look on Accountingfly. There should be a lot of firms in Maryland that are hiring. That are smaller firms. Ryan and Wetmore, Counselor, Buchanan Mitchell, just to name a couple. But we could also you should be contacting the Maryland State Society of CPAs as well. All right. I'm working in a temporary position, and I've told them I'm studying my MBA in accounting and finance in the next 5 months. They don't seem interested, meaning they don't seem interested in hiring you full time, is what I imagine you're saying. Or maybe they're not interested that you're getting an MBA. I can't figure out what you're talking about there. But what it okay, yeah. So they're not interested in hiring you. Yeah. So, but at least you got the experience on your resume, and now I would pursue the other firms in the area, send them the resume and cover letter. It never hurts to send it by mail, by the way, with a recommendation or a referral instead of the email approach, and get in front of those firms. The Maryland Society of CPAs probably has a resource of every single firm in the state. We have a lot of them on our site, though. All right, so my last question, then we'll wrap it up. How do you go about finding information on small firms that don't have much information online except their website? What an interesting question. It's like, hey guys, why wouldn't you put more information on your website about your firm? I mean, is that not ludicrous? So your question is, how do I find out about firms besides their website when they're not putting any information on their website? I don't know. We're trying to tell these firms that you're crazy to not put more information about yourself on your website, but they don't want to invest in it. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know that I would want to work at a firm that didn't understand the value of having a great website for marketing to for potential business and potential recruits. The whole industry's websites are outdated, by the way. It's ridiculous. So should I wait and apply for jobs until I pass a CPA or start now since I can sit for the CPA? I would start applying right now, James. Hey, do me a favor, guys. We've both invested an hour of time in each other. Um, and what I would be grateful for is, was this hour worth your time? Was it worth you spending an hour listening to me? And if it wasn't, just tell me. I can handle it because I also gave up an hour of my time to teach this course. So I would do it again if I felt that it helped. If it helps, then it's always worth it. But if it's not helping, let's change course because we won't continue to have high traffic numbers when we do these. So if you want to send me an email, jeff@accountingfly.com, or send it through the question pane, I'd appreciate your feedback because we want to get better. Our goal is to create a savvy workforce, and that's you. How do we do that? How do we do that better for you? That's what I'd like to know. Please apply to jobs on Accountingfly and 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 then follow up with those employers. Remember, if you do not match the skill set, they're not going to call you back. It's not going to work like that. But you can improve your candidacy for jobs. And there's some tips and tools. I would check out the master's programs that are on Accountingfly. There's no risk to that. Request information, and I would check out the zero free training. I would highly encourage you to do that. All right, it's 10 o'clock where I'm at. Um, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention, and I wish you the very best of luck in your job search. Please be in touch, and please um, apply and connect with our employers on Accountingfly. Okay, so hopefully I'll see you down the road at the next one of these, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. Bye for now.